Welcome warriors. Today I present to you my first weapon tier list for Chivalry 2. Having battle since its release, the list is culmination of my experience. Join me as we rank the weapons from best to worst and uncover the secrets of the battlefield. Let's dive in and dominate our foes. I will rate them through alphabetical order, and the weapons are rated basically on team objective gameplay. So let's get started. The first on the list is Axe. Axe is one-handed weapon with good amount of damage with slashes and overhits, especially if you use it against knight and footmen because of its bonus against them. It has also good speed, but it lacks on reach and stab damage, which is why I will put this weapon to B tier list. After Axe, we have a Battle Axe. Battle Axe is one of my favorite weapons in the game. It has decent speed, good slashes and great overhead damage. This weapon is good against fighting with several enemies, which comes good in team objective maps. Neither you attack or you defend. One good swing with this weapon can make serious damage to enemy players, especially knight and footmen. As this weapon seems like an upgrade to the previous one because it's two-handed and it lacks same on reach and stab damage. This weapon for me deserved the place in A slot because of capability of taking crowds of enemy. And in team objective maps, when several enemy attacks you, you don't pierce them, you slash and do overhead attacks. And that's why I rate this weapon so high. After Battle Axe, the next weapon is the bow. Bow is one of the weakest weapon in the game for me. As it not have any bonuses, weapon damage is not that high. You need to shoot in the head every time from close range if you want to do some decent damage to enemy. And that's why I put this weapon to the weakest D tier spot. After bow, we have a little bit better ranged weapon, and that's the crossbow. Comparing the crossbow to the previous weapon, crossbow gives more damage plus has good bonus damage against knight and footman. If you manage to hit enemy in the head, it can be serious damage. The lack of reload speed don't give much space for this weapon to rate high, so I will place it in C tier spot. The next weapon we're gonna talk about is Cudgel. Cudgel is one of the worst weapons in the game so far for me. It doesn't have much reach, damage is not that high, it's hard to hit enemy, and if you want to do some damage with it, you have to be Vanguard Ambusher class because it has bonus with one-handed weapon for hitting from back. And you have to use heavy overhead to do decent damage. But as I say, reach is not good, so for me it takes place next to the bow in the D weakest tier class. After Cudgel, we move next on Dagger. Dagger is a lot faster weapon than Cudgel. It has good stabbing damage, same case if you use Ambusher class. Reach is not good and you can hit multiple enemy with it. But the speed and good stab damage make this weapon a little bit better than the previous one, so I will place it in C tier spot. Now, it's time to talk about one of the best weapons in the game, and that's the Dane Axe. Dane Axe have decent reach. Stab damage is not that good, but when you have a bow, you won't even think about stabbing someone. Damage is a little bit lesser than Battle Axe, but that don't make anything less worth for crowd fight, since the speed and the decent reach cover other things. The Dane Axe takes the well-deserved A slot in my weapon tier list. After Dane Axe, we go next on Executioner Axe. Executioner Axe is extremely good against fighting crowd of enemy. Starting first with weapon status, weapon has high amount of damage, good bonuses, very good reach and decent speed. Slashes and overheads are very strong, but you should definitely avoid stabs with it. Plus, this weapon can have extra delay before releasing it, giving enemy troubles when they trying to counter it. Executioner Axe takes the spot in S tier for me because of its capability for crowd fights. The next weapon we're gonna talk about is Falchion. Falchion is a little bit longer than Axe, has decent damage and speed, but it lacks on bonuses against other classes, which I don't rate it high in my weapon tier list. Stabs do moderate damage, but still nothing special that would get this weapon better than Axe. So, for me, this weapon will take C slot in my weapon tier list. After Falchion, we move next on Glaive. Glaive has a very good reach and good attack speed. Slashes do low damage, overhead a little bit more, but overall it lacks on total weapon damage, which can be sometimes frustrating because of how many hits you need to take down full health enemy. So this weapon takes the same C tier spot as a Falchion. Now it's time to talk about a Greatsword. As this weapon have high damage from every type of attack and very good weapon reach, it values highly in team objective maps and duel servers. The only thing that this weapon isn't so good is speed, but overall it has a moderate speed and it's faster than Highland Sword. Even this weapon don't have bonuses against other classes, it doesn't make any problem for taking down several enemies at once. So, the Greatsword will go to S tier for me as one of the best weapons in the game so far. After Greatsword, we move next on Halberd. Halberd is a weapon that has a very good reach, good amount of damage, good stab and overhead damage. That's what makes this weapon so good in team objective modes. Plus, have in mind that damage has bonus against footman and knight. Also, special attack can deal lots of damage if you use it against the enemy class that you have bonus damage against. This weapon will also take the S tier for me, since it has everything for team objective games. After Halberd, the next weapon is Hatchet. Hatchet is a weapon with good attack speed and damage, but the hatchet range is terrible also as a knife. It is very hard to hit the enemy even the enemy is in front of you. It is the most playable with ambusher subclass, but this class is not good for team objective. This weapon is still better than Cudgel, so it will go to C tier list. It is time to speak about latest weapon that has been added in the game, and that's Heavy Cavalry Sword. Lot of people were skeptical about it before the release, but when I took this weapon to the test, it has shown as a really good one. It has good range for one-handed weapon, heavy swings and overhead can do really good damage, stabbing is slow, but this weapon overall has been shown very efficient in 1vx fight in the battlefield. As things stand for now, this weapon will take A tier spot in my weapon tier list. The next one is a heavy mace. This weapon has average speed, average damage and reach. The light attack for this weapon are not so much powerful, but with heavy swing, in group fight, it can take several enemies if you manage to do it right. Plus, because this is blunt weapon type, it can do a really good damage to knights and footmen, because it has a really good bonus damage against them, so the position in my tier list for this weapon will be in B tier slot. After heavy mace, we move next on Highland Sword. Highland Sword is a lot similar to the Greatsword, but still there are some differences. Highland Sword have stronger overhead, which can go up to the 100 damage, which is insane for a weapon that does not have any bonuses against other classes. It's slower than a Greatsword, stabs are slow and not worth using it, but with 70 damage on slashes and 100 heavy overhead, you won't even consider doing stab attacks to enemy. So, the Highland Sword takes the place in S tier list among the best weapons. We now move on Javelins. Javelins are the best ranged weapon for me, since they can make a really good amount of damage, especially if you manage to hit the enemy in the head. The body damage is also good, but it can lack in efficiency if you are not skilled with range weapon. So, for team objective modes, this weapon will take B tier spot because of capability taking enemies with 1 or 2 hits. The next weapon will be the Katars. As the Katars are the first and the only dual-wield weapon in the game, they have give players trouble using it since the range is very bad. Damage is medium, only the speed of weapon is really good. For players that are looking for a challenge, this can be good test, but for team objective modes, it's hard to do anything against multiple enemies, so I really don't like it. This weapon takes expected the D tier spot. We now move on Knife. Knife is little bit shorter than Dagger and gives the less damage. Special deals way lower damage, slashes are a little bit better, but overall this weapon is one of the worst in the game because it has not much to offer. So it goes also with Katars to the D tier spot. The next one is Longsword. Longsword is the most balanced weapon in the game. Medium range, good attack speed, nice damage for every kind of attack, can compete against several enemies at once, it is also good in duels, so this weapon is very suitable for team objective maps, and this weapon goes for A tier slot for me. After Longsword, we have a Mace. Mace is a really good one-handed blunt weapon that can do really good damage against knight and footmans, but it lacks on fighting against multiple enemies. It has good slashes, strong overhead, and not too good stab. It's similar to Heavy Mace, like some sort of shorter version of it, and it takes the B tier spot for me. We now move on Maul. Maul is one of strongest weapon in the game with damage rate. It has medium range, strong slashes and very strong overheads. With special attack that can take out almost every enemy with one hit, this weapon lacks on speed and slow recovery rate, which don't let this weapon go more from B tier spot. The next weapon will be the Macer. Macer is one of the most favorite weapons of Chivalry 2 players. It has nice attack range, good slashes and good overhead attacks. It can be good for group fights and in duels. It lacks on special bonus damage, but beside that, it can do pretty good damage. It does a little bit damage than a Greatsword on slashes, but a Greatsword has stronger overheads. So this weapon takes the spot in A tier list. After Macer, we have a Morningstar. Morningstar is very similar weapon to the Mace. It has similar attributes. Slashes and overheads are strong, same attack speed, it has a really good special bonus against knights and footmans, but it's still weaker than a Mace. So this weapon will take place in the same weapon group, and that's the B tier. Now we move on one-handed spear. This weapon can be very good in team objective fights if you manage to stay in groups with your friends and support them from behind. As everyone knows that subs are a little harder to block, it can come handy for finishing off wounded enemies. But when it comes to group fight, it doesn't give much chance of surviving the fight. So this weapon goes to the B tier spot for me. After one-handed spear comes the pickaxe. Pickaxe doesn't shine when it comes to range. Light attacks will stop on hit, while heavy attacks can be used at fights against several enemies. But the problem comes because injury class isn't made for going in fighting against group of enemies, and the stamina can drop very fast if you don't play carefully. The pickaxe takes the C tier group in this case. We move on now on poleaxe. Poleaxe is a little bit shorter on range, but it has very fast overhead attacks and stabs, while the slash damage isn't great. This weapon can be used to fast finish wounded enemies in the field, especially with special attacks that looks like overhead attack. It's fast, and if they try to counter the special attack with overhead, they will get hit. Overall, I will say it's a good weapon that will go to B tier spot. The next weapon is the Pole Hammer. Pole Hammer is a good in every aspect. It has good range, good attack damage, every kind of attack gives good damage, It has special damage against knights and footmen, and special damage can deliver very large amount of damage to enemy. But the problem with this weapon in group fights is that since the weapon is blunt type, you must use heavy attacks to make your attack goes through more than one enemy. And the heavy attacks take a little bit more time for hit, that sometimes can be crucial. So overall, the weapon will go to A slot. One of the latest added weapon is Quarterstaff. This weapon is blunt weapon made more for defense than for attack. It can help you less in combat because it doesn't drop much stamina when blocking, but it's not meant to fight several people at once. Side attack are okay, overhead are good, especially with a bonus, but special and stab damage is very bad. Also, the range of weapon is short, so this weapon won't trade so far, and it goes to C tier group. Next one is also one of newer weapons, and that's Rapier. Rapier is weapon based mostly on stab attacks. With short range and fast stabs, it can come handy in duels, but overhead and slashes are really bad, which put this weapon only in C tier group, same as Quarterstaff. We now move on Short Sword. Short Sword as a weapon only has a good speed. Attack damage is not that good, but it still has more reach than some one-handed weapons, and it can be used in wars to fight several enemies at once. So, because of this, Short Sword will get C tier group spot. We now move on second engineer weapon, and that's the Shovel. Shovel is also blunt weapon as a pickaxe. It can be good in fights against footmen and knights. It has good speed, but damage and reach is not so good. It can be used as a support for teammates with finishing wanted enemy with fast overheads, but overall it is a mediocre weapon like several previous ones, so it will also take C tier group spot. And the last weapon of the field engineer is Sledge Hammer. Comparing to the pickaxe and shovel, for me, the Sledge Hammer has the most potential in team objective modes because weapon has the best base damage comparing the other two, and it has a very good bonuses against knight and footman, and it can be used in group fights. This weapon can make serious damage to enemy if the player is skilled enough with it, and I have seen lot of professional players using it as frontline weapon in game. It lacks only on range, but it has 100% more damage to objects. So this weapon goes to the B tier slot, and it's considered as a good weapon. Now we move to the sword. Sword is similar weapon to Longsword. It has fast attack speed, range is pretty good for a one-handed weapon, and it has nice damage. It is good for group fights. The difference between this weapon and the Longsword is the damage and attack speed. The Longsword has a little bit more attack damage, and it's little bit slower than Sword, and in reverse. That's why Sword will take its place next to the Longsword in the A weapon tier list. The next one is the ranged weapon, the Throwing Axes. In comparing throwing axes to javelins, javelins do the more damage to enemy and has the one shot less, and the throwing axes have the bonus against knights and footmen. In my opinion, throwing axes are not so popular weapon as an archer, and it's hard to make kills with it, making it not so good, but it's better than a bow. So the throwing axes will take C tier weapon slot as a mediocre. The next weapon is a two-handed hammer. This weapon has a really nice reach, speed and damage. Plus it has bonus versus knight and footman, because it's blunt weapon. It can be good in group fights if you fight with heavy slashes. Overhead attacks are also good, and this weapon can make difference in group fight. So it goes to A tier slot. Two-handed spear is the next weapon. This weapon is maybe the best support weapon in the team objective games. It has very good range and damage. It can do fast stabs and finish wounded enemy, and for players who like having good score in games, this weapon can be ideal. The only reason this weapon won't take the S tier is that two-handed spear is not ideal weapon for group fights, so it goes straight to the A tier slot. We move now on the one of the best team objective weapons, and that's the War Axe. War Axe is weapon with very good range, very good base damage and speed. Plus, what makes this weapon one of the best is that all that I have mentioned, it has also plus bonus damage against knight and footmen. And when you do heavy swings in group fights, it can make mess in enemy lines. So this weapon goes to the deserved S tier slot. The last ranged weapon in this list is the Warbow. Warbow is a upgraded version of bow. It has less arrows and attack speed, but this weapon offers way more chance for killing enemy with its good damage. With a good user, this weapon can be almost good as Javelin. As it's little bit faster than Crossbow, this weapon goes to the B tier slot along with Javelin. We now move on to the War Club. War Club is another blunt type weapon with very good attack speed, but base damage is not that good. Comparing this weapon to Glaive, it has similar weapon reach, it's a little bit slower, but with heavy slashes and overheads for me it's a better weapon in group fights. Because of its bonuses against knight and footman, I rate this weapon more than Glaive, so I will put War Club in B tier list. And for the last weapon, we have a Warhammer. Warhammer has a really good base damage and it has powerful overhead attack, especially against knight and footman. Slashes can also give a really good damage. Despite not high weapon reach, this weapon can do really good damage in group fights. So surprising or not, this weapon goes to the A tier slot for me, as it can do deadly hits. Now, I will show you the final list of my team objective weapon tier list from the best to the worst. I would love to hear your opinion on the list I have made. Do you agree with my choice, or you would put some weapon in different tier slot than I have done? Write in comments below your thoughts so we can further discuss about Chivalry 2 weapons. I wanted to thank you for watching the video. Support the channel by hitting that like and subscribe button. Until next video, see you in comments below. I will now leave you a little while to take a look on final list.